Heya Buddies, Mr. Pugly here, and today we'll be discussing the best DPS heroes that you can use to get easy wins. Overwatch 2 has a lot of heroes, some not as great as others, admittedly, and some heroes that are extremely good only once you get really good at them. The heroes that we're going to list here are going to be easy heroes that you can use at any skill level and generally still be able to kill people pretty easily. So without further ado, let's go on to Junkrat. Now, Junkrat is an amazing character because one of the key things about his character, and it's even hinted in his dialogue, is that you never want to stop shooting and you want to kind of be sporadic. Now, generally when you want to try to aim for a specific target, that isn't quite what you want to do, but during team fights, it's never a bad idea to really just spray into the area and hope to God that you get some hits. This applies constant pressure to the enemy team, which makes them have to think about the way that they advance and potentially gets large burst amounts of damage onto their team, which makes the healers have to panic and start healing really quickly. And even if you get really lucky, you can sometimes just get a kill without even trying at all, which makes him very easy to get confirmed kills, and confirmed kills leads to easy wins. Now, a big thing on why Junkrat is so good now is because his hitbox for his balls are a lot bigger than they used to be, and there is only one tank per team, which means there's not as many shields as there used to be, which means his explosives can kind of just roam free and kill targets unexpectedly, even more than in Overwatch 1. Another thing that's awesome about Junkrat is that if you're smart with him, you can actually get a confirmed kill on a 260 HP hero or lower if you do the primary shot mine combo, and it allows you to get confirmed kills extremely easy on any support and pretty much any DPS for the most part. Tanks are a different story, but as I'll be showing on the screen here, you pretty much want to immediately do a primary fire, send out a mine immediately after, and then explode the mine as soon as it reaches the enemies. Most of the time, once it reaches the enemy, the first primary fire is going to hit, which means you're going to get a large chunk of HP out of that target, and then the mine does the rest. Awesome thing about the mine is that even if you aren't really that great, you can even hit him with the mine, and then if the mine sends him back up, you could send the mine out and then hit him again, because the mine has a bigger hitbox. Generally, it does have a higher damage fall off than the grenades themselves, but the mine still does a ton of damage, which is awesome, allowing your team to get easy confirmed kills, and sometimes you can even use it to make the enemy be out of position. On this clip here, I have a bad example where I make the Reinhardt out of position. He does die, but I die in the process as well, but hey, it allows us to get a kill on a key target, which is the tank, and then I was revived and we were able to get the point right after. Not only that, his ultimate is pretty much a confirmed kill every single time it comes out. If you're smart with it, you're going to at least get one target, and worst things worse, the Riptide just goes away, but you get the ultimate pretty quickly in every single match, considering you deal so much damage with Junkrat. And if you're smart, you can get an entire team kill or get significant key targets on the enemy team very easily with this ultimate. Generally, he's just one of the characters that are the easiest to pick up. You don't have to be good at aiming. You can get easy kills and wins, even if you're a super beginner in the game with Junkrat. And once you get better at that and start doing the combo more, and perhaps being more strategic with the steel trap placement, you can really elevate your game plan to allow you to essentially decimate every single team fight, which is awesome. I don't think I mentioned it exactly, but if you'd like, you could flank with Junkrat and then do the concussive mine combo, allowing you to get a easy kill. And since the concussive mine also knocks you back, you can kind of use that as an escape as well if needed. This can sometimes get you killed, but if you're smart, you can shut down a character that is decimating your team. Next, we move on to Farah. Farah is one of those characters where most of the time you have to counter her as opposed to other way around. Every single time there's a Farah on the battlefield, the opposing team then has to think, how am I going to play against this Farah, and do I need to switch, which is awesome about Farah. Similarly with Junkrat, you can get confirmed kills very easily because her rockets deal the same amount of damage as Junkrat's primary fire and easily gets kills even if you're not really that great at aiming. Sometimes I'll be aiming at enemies and I'll be like, okay, I can't really get a direct shot, so let me just aim at their feet, and then splash damage will do the rest, which hopefully I'm showing on the screen right now, a good example of that. But you don't really have to be amazing at aiming with Farah. Now, generally a big thing that people have problems with Farah is knowing when to drop. Now, it's okay to be on the ground as Farah, but not all the time. You kind of want to do a dance in the sky and on the floor depending on the enemy team. Generally, I like to be on the ground to deal lots and lots of damage, to do direct fire going directly towards the enemy team if it's the beginning of a team fight. But if I need to confirm some kills, I want to be up in the air. Now, if I see that it's dangerous for me to be behind my team and on the ground, of course, you can be in the air for almost as long as you want. And the awesome thing about being in the air is that you're harder harder to hit, which makes a lot of characters essentially negated. Like if there's an enemy Junker Queen or Junkrat, they can't really hit you at all. If there's Reaper, they can't hit you at all. Any short range character at all, like Zarya, or like most tanks, can't hit you at all, which makes her very awesome. And just like Junkrat, if you play smart, you can knock people out of position with her blast ability, which can do damage. Most of the time you kind of want to just use it as a way to either escape or allow you to make the enemy team be out of position, allowing you to get easy confirmed kills. Now, even if the enemy team does counter you by switching to a hit scan, you can still play against them and still get kills against said hit scans, which is awesome about Farah. If the whole enemy team isn't really focusing you down, most of the time you're going to have an easy game as Farah, which honestly happens a lot. People don't like to switch enough to really counter you, but if they do counter you, hey, either you can switch off or you can play differently. Like on this game, there was an enemy that switched to McCree to counter me specifically. I didn't die a single time until he switched over to McCree. Now, of course, I could have switched to another character, but I was still able to apply lots of damage to the enemy team despite this person countering me, and I was even able to kill him a couple of times, which just means that if you play your cards right, you can counter anybody that's countering you with Farah, which makes her very valuable. Now, the only part that I say that's really tricky with Farah is her ultimate. Her ultimate can get you killed a lot of times, so you kind of have to be sneaky with it, and even if you are sneaky with it, it makes you so vulnerable that you kind of die even if you're getting targeted by one enemy. But hey, her ultimate isn't what makes her good, it's her entire play style that makes the enemy team have to change their entire tactic to play against you, which is awesome. And if you made it this far into the video, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and next let's move over to Bastion. Now, all of us has at least experienced one moment where Bastion is on the enemy team and suddenly decimates you because you weren't quite prepared for it. That is a key thing that makes Bastion awesome, is that if you play your cards right and surprise the enemy, you're going to deal tons and tons of damage, because in his turret mode, he becomes one of the best DPS in the entire game during those 8 seconds, so you kind of have to play around that. Now, of course, I made a whole video on how you can counter Bastion, but we're not really going to talk about how you can counter Bastion. If someone does counter Bastion, it's okay to switch to another character, just like any of these other characters. That is a lesson that you kind of have to learn with Overwatch. Switching is okay. But let's keep talking about Bastion. Bastion has the great turret mode, as we talked about, but he doesn't get enough credit where credit is due with his recon mode, because his recon mode has 0 recoil and 100% accuracy, which means that you can be an extremely good hit scan and able to deal lots and lots of damage. He also has a lot of HP, which means that if you take a bunch of damage or even some combos that would kill a normal character in one hit, you aren't going to quite die because you have so much HP, which makes the character a lot more forgiving, allowing your team to heal you up or have a little bit more breathing room to heal you up, as opposed to some other characters you can play because of his massive HP pool and armor health. His grenade launcher also has pretty good damage if you can land it, allowing you to get easy confirmed kills, as well as his ultimate, albeit kind of easy to play around. You can get some pretty good kills or even have some nice area denial because the enemies are afraid to go where you are landing those artillery strikes, which can allow you to play mind games with the enemy team and easily disrupt their plays. Now, Bastion is an extremely straightforward character. There isn't really much else I can talk about. It's really his turret mode allowing you to get easy kills, and if you play smart as Bastion, you're almost unstoppable unless someone's super hard countering you, or like more than one enemy is countering you, say if they had a Genji or something, but even then you can play around them. It isn't uncommon for some people to switch to Bastion just temporarily to deal tons and tons of damage to the enemy team as a surprise, because they aren't quite expecting this huge burst window to come out of nowhere, which makes him an extremely valuable character to just switch into if you ever need to change the dynamic of the fight. Now, this next character is a lot more consistent than Bastion, which is Reaper. Reaper really thrives on tanks, and there's always going to be an enemy tank on the enemy team, which means you always are going to be able to counter the enemy team in some way. He has awesome lifesteal and easy escape, as well as a teleport, which allows you to be very versatile and mobile, allowing you to escape if needed. You can go in for the kill and then immediately dip out, and he has a pretty decently large HP pool, allowing you to go into the fray and not quite die as quickly as, say, a Tracer, because the Tracer could also go into a fray, but they can die a lot easier than Reaper. But we're not quite talking about Tracer here, we're talking about Reaper. Now, Reaper thrives on people getting close to him, and a lot of enemy tanks playstyle is kind of getting in your face and disrupting your team, so Reaper can really play against that. Reaper is just an obvious choice. You can kind of counter anybody that comes out there, and if you use his ultimate, it's always going to be a confirmed kill more or less, which is awesome. There's a reason why he's considered one of the best DPS in the entire games. He's considered in the top 5 of DPS. and I made a whole video on the top 5. If you're interested in that, click on the top right. But generally, you're able to either get easy kills with him. An enemy is out of position, you can really punish them, because if they're up close, you're going to easily be able to hit them, which is the awesome thing about Reaper, is that, you know, he has shotguns, which means if someone's really close to you, you don't have to necessarily be super good at aiming. You can kind of have an easy time at hitting the players, as opposed to having a aim-intensive character, which funnily enough is our next character, which is Sojourn. Now, Sojourn is one of those characters that is a high skill ceiling, but she's so good and her kit is just amazing that even if you're a newer player, you can learn tactics to allow you to win games very easily by constantly pressuring the enemy with her near constant projectile spam from her primary weapon. And even if you aren't good at aiming, by hitting the right clicks, that constant pressure can sometimes just be enough to allow your team to win. And her nice area denial or AoE that slows people, which can help you aim those headshots, which is awesome. But what's awesome about her is that even if you aren't the best at aiming, you can still get easy kills with her right click, because her right click projectile is, once fully charged, bigger than other projectiles, which means that even if you get near their head, they're going to die, which is awesome. There's a reason why she has an almost 100% pick rate in the competitive scene. It's just because she's that great. Now, her ultimate, once again, her right click is hard to hit, so you can get a ton of kills and even pierce through a bunch of enemies if so needed, if the opportunity arrives. So if you see people funneling into a narrow passageway, you could pop your ult and be smart like that. Just that constantly pressuring the enemy team, as well as having that nice area denial with her E ability, is almost enough to allow you to get easy kills. Considering she has a projectile based gun, it has no damage fall off at all, which means you can easily deal tons and tons of damage even if you're just firing in the same spot where you expect people are going to come through. And sometimes just dealing a huge chunk of damage to the enemy team's HP bar can be enough to allow someone else to get a confirmed kill. Oh, and she also has an awesome escape. And if I were to give you just one tip, so just because Sojourn's a little bit harder than the other characters I listed, you kind of want to always be behind your team. I mean, you could say this for any DPS. You always want to kind of be a little bit farther back than other characters. It's kind of counterintuitive, it might feel, because she has this awesome ability with her power slide, allows you to get into the team fight very quickly, allowing you to get easy kills. But it's a very bad mentality to kind of go into the fray with her. That's when you die very easily, so stay back, deal a punch of damage, hold down your primary fire, and if you see you are fully charged, maybe go for a right click on a support or a DPS. You will always get a kill that way. And even if you miss, it's like, hey, no big deal, maybe you'll hit it next time. Once again, she's a high skill ceiling character, so don't be discouraged if it's a little bit hard. Maybe you could try the other characters. And there's a ton of other characters that you can really use to allow you to get easy wins, but those are generally the easiest characters that you can pick up at almost any skill level to allow you to play the game and get wins. So hopefully this guide helps someone out at all. Even if you're a beginner, maybe a nice refresher for some veterans. And as always, a big shout out to the members who make these videos possible. We have Clairvoyance, Rick Iglesias, and Cameron. These are the people who support me as little as $5 a month on Patreon or YouTube. And you can also support me by becoming a member on the top right or in the comments or description. And as always, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him out with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. War in a cave with a torch on a wall, then a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.